how to join the link that I literally scheduled, but we're gonna get started in a few moments. I'm gonna put the new link for this live stream on my channel and on my Substack so that people can join. 1 second. I'm not the most technologically hold on 1 sec. We'll get started right now. Normally I like to stream on TikTok too, but I'm joining from my phone today instead of my computer. So hopefully people are able to find this video. Anyways, trial and error, right? But yeah, I'm gonna get started. I like to have my TikTok open, but I announced on my TikTok that we're live, so yeah. Let me know if actually having a time helps, because I tried to stick to 12 today. Normally I'm kind of spontaneous and just get on whenever, but I'm trying to be a little bit more organized. So yeah, today's topic is, and if I'm looking over here, it's because my notes are here. Today's topic is feminine energy boundaries, how to stop seeking validation and start attracting the right people. Hopefully my setup is not too distracting. I'm gonna wait a few more moments for people to hop onto this live stream, but I'm really excited. I definitely have a scheduled stream on my channel that I wasn't able to get on. I have no idea how to do that. I'm gonna experiment after that so that I can do it that way, but hopefully people find the link and they get on this live stream. I'm really excited about today's topic. I actually have a lot to say, and today's live stream is YouTube exclusive. I'm not on TikTok right now. I'm only on YouTube for once. So, you know, this is my effort in being more focused and channeling all of this stuff onto my YouTube channel, because YouTube is my main platform. Even though I love TikTok and I try to promote it on there and go live on there when I can, YouTube is always going to be my priority. So thanks so much for joining today's live. We're talking about feminine energy boundaries, how to stop seeking validation and start attracting the right people. Hey Cassandra. Okay, so you found my link. I'm trying to figure out how to go live and be organized about it, but thanks so much for asking, for a time, because it also challenges me and pushes me to be a little bit more organized and less like all over the place. So I'm really happy that you joined this live stream today. Hi, thanks for joining. Today's topic is the title of this, I did it mainly for, YouTube search optimization, but what I really want to talk about today is how to create a healthy relationship with attention and what people call validation, right? Because it's hard to escape, but there are ways that we can manage this for ourselves. Cassandra said, biggest lesson I learned this year. I'm excited for this topic. Yay, I'm so excited. I'm gonna let you guys kind of chime in and lead the conversation. I'm just kind of here to guide and give my own input, but this is something that I've really been thinking about and even writing about on my Substack. After this live stream, all of my links will be under this video, but I appreciate everybody that's joined in. Someone said, hey, how's everyone doing? How's everybody doing? I'm so excited that you guys joined today's live. I might start going live exclusively on YouTube now instead of trying to stream all these platforms at once, okay? But yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, thanks so much. All right, so today we're talking about how to create a healthy relationship with attention. And before we even get started, because my channels are also beauty and wellness, I'm gonna share some of my quick favorites. This is what I used to do my eye look today. It's really like beginner friendly. It's the Pretty Grunge palette from Huda Beauty. And I think that it really flatters olive skin tones, which is part of what makes your makeup look good, is knowing what colors look good on you. I definitely recommend that you learn about your own tone just to find like what makeup looks good on you. But I use that palette. I love that palette. This is my favorite lip product right now. I'm wearing it and it's kind of weird and sometimes a bit patchy, but like weirdly it's flattering. So this is the lip stain from Dior. I think it's the berry shade, and you see how it kind of wears like It looks like a blush, so it's really pretty. This is the book that I'm reading right now that I highly recommend. I've recommended it to some of my clients. It's called The Only Diet There Is by Sandra Ray. Originally, I was debating if I wanted to make a live stream about this book because it actually has been so healing and so powerful for me. But yeah, just wanted to share that really quickly in case you guys are needing a book to read and you're into topics like this concerning wellness, beauty, body image, fitness, health, you know, all of my favorite things. And my last beauty favorite is this eyebrow pencil from Rare Beauty. It's the best. I love Rare Beauty, and it helps you create a more like precise shape with your eyebrows. So yeah, those are some quick beauty favorites. I have to mention those. Someone said hi. Yeah, all right, so let's get started. We're talking about creating a healthy relationship with attention. And as always, your input is necessary, it's needed. I want to hear from you guys on anything that we talk about today. And what I really want to say about this, I'm gonna just front load and give you guys the meat of like what I want to talk about, which is in order to create a healthy relationship with attention, a healthy relationship with validation, and just understanding your identity, is first learning how to create your own identity and not allowing your identity to be shaped so much by other people or by the world, right? Like, I'm definitely somebody who believes in leaning into your individuality, even though honestly, just complete transparency, now that I'm older, right, I can look back and understand these situations for what they were. It was kind of a form of bullying. Like, I used to get bullied a lot and I didn't even connect the dots like until later. But you know, I used to get made fun of, mocked for all of these weird things, what people I guess considered weird about me. But at the same time, those are the things that make you stand out and help you come into your own identity, help you create your own individuality. And you know, part of creating your own identity is learning how to navigate other people's input, other people's opinions. Someone said, healthy relationship has to start with oneself. No matter what your parents' words and actions are, rather positive or negative, are going to drastically change your self and self-esteem. Yeah, exactly. That's why all of my work is centered around you working on yourself, you learning to have all of these tools to kind of create your internal state of health, right? Because there's nothing that we can do about what other people say, what other people are doing. And even worse, you know, sometimes we can set ourselves backward by trying to imitate what other people are doing. Like, sometimes you have to have that level of boldness to actually like be willing to create your own path, right? I have a lot of videos on my channel about trailblazing, and a lot of artists, I feel, especially understand this concept of like creating your own identity. That's how a lot of people get into the arts and create, you know, what some people call like the artistic persona, which is still who you are as a person. Like, I don't know if you guys, I've had this channel for years. I've had this channel since 2020. I've pivoted a lot. But when I first started my channel, I was in the music industry. I was an artist. You guys might know me by my artist name, Renacita. Recently, I pivoted into, you know, creating my platform more to be like health, wellness, beauty oriented. But something I've noticed among artists is like we create an artistic persona, right? Like, we create somewhat of a character, and it's not that it's somebody else, but it's an extension of ourselves. And sometimes we do that so that we can feel more permission to like really be ourselves and say what we have to say, right? Someone said 100, Cassandra said 100% there's beauty in your own uniqueness. You have to get to know yourself to see your originality though. Right. It's so important to take time to be alone and remove yourself from the herd mentality. Yes, period. Someone said, geez, look at that beautiful face. Yeah, thank you so much. My beautiful pimple patch, which is also one of my beauty favorites because it's just easier on the eyes than having, you know, a roaring pimple on your face. But thank you so much for the compliment. But yeah, I definitely agree that there's beauty in your own uniqueness. And that's why, I don't know if you guys have ever gone down the narcissism like rabbit hole on social media of just like learning about narcissism and stuff. Sometimes my For You page is all videos like that, and they literally say like the number one enemy of like narcissism is like somebody who's in their authenticity. And you know, that's another conversation, but I feel like there's something to be said about that, right? Someone said even a pimple would look, thank you, that's very nice. But creating a healthy relationship with your attention, with your authenticity, right? Leaning into creating your own identity. I'm an artist, so you know, that was my first example, but this shows up so many different ways in our lives. And, learning not to merge completely with other people is not only going to make your relationships better, but it's going to make you more of a confident person because you'll really start to understand and learn yourself. And of course, we learn ourselves through other people, but you also have to know who you are by setting these, fine invisible lines that people call boundaries that I'm going to demystify and simplify today on this call. And what that does, it helps you not to merge and enmesh yourself with other people because you are allowed to have your own identity. You are allowed to be your own person and, then from that place add to the lives of other people. And I think this is a more harmonious way of relating than, imitating other people or just acting a certain way to be accepted. You know what I mean? So the main umbrella topic is creating a healthy relationship with attention and setting these soft core boundaries in our life just so that we can have a better life experience. But we're going to be talking about so many other things. And something else I want to say before we get into today's topic, just to tell you guys a little bit more about what I do. I'm a life and health coach, and a lot of times people have skepticism, rightfully so, right, around the coaching industry and around consulting and stuff because it can seem somewhat arbitrary. But this is the most simple way that I can explain what a coach does for you and what coaching has personally done for me is that what a coach does, and even other figures in our life, but I'll speak to coaching. Coaching is what creates that space for your envisioned self. Like sometimes you just need somebody to believe in you, believe in your next level, hold space for that version of you, encourage you to get there, give you a little bit of a step by step, but mostly literally serve as that person who believes in the person that you can be, right? Easy example, fitness coaching. You have somebody in your corner that's not going to judge your starting point and your end point. Somebody that has seen the transformation, that can see you in that fit body, right? Like you need somebody to hold space for you in that way. And some of the times we don't have the luxury of having these personal relationships in our lives that can have that kind of catalyst in our lives, like sometimes we need another source, and coaching is one of those sources. So I just wanted to say that because I want to speak to some of the skepticism around coaching and stuff. Someone said, look at any health journey like a diet or a workout routine. They all have guidelines and boundaries to stay in track to get to the end goal. Need those boundaries in all relationships. Yeah, absolutely. And what I'll even add to that, I agree with that, but I'll even add that sometimes people respond differently. They learn in different ways, right? Not everybody responds to hard lines in the sand of like what something should look like. I feel like especially women, like sometimes we are just so multifaceted and we have our focus and our priority in so many different areas of our lives. I am somebody who believes that you can have harmony and your desired results in multiple areas of your life. You don't need to sacrifice one area for the other, right? And what I like to think about when I think about health, fitness, wellness, beauty, is that they can all coincide and all excel at the same time. That is what lifestyle integration is, right? Like that is what I do as a wellness consultant. I help you integrate health, wellness, and beauty into your own life. And as you watch my videos and get more familiar with my work, you'll see that it's really an inner process. It's an inner work process that of course translates to your physical looks, your relationship, your career, your money, your mentality, right? So another way that coaches and one of the examples from my life where somebody had to hold the space and the vision for where I was going before I could even see it myself. Yes, you do need people like that in your life. Was when I was younger, I went to just like a local elementary school, right? And I don't know if you guys, I always talk about him. You guys know Robert Greene, right? Like he always recommends this book called Multiple Theories of Intelligence. And he basically, that book is really dense and I'll summarize it for you. Basically what that person is saying is that people just have different forms of intelligence. They have different skill sets that they excel at, and that is their form of intelligence. So like, especially when there's subjects, right? Like sometimes we favor one subject more than the other, and that's our strength, right? That's our expertise. So when I was younger, I didn't realize this until one of my teachers pointed it out and helped me get to that next level in my life, which was she noticed in my reading and writing class and even on my test scores and stuff that I did really well and I was above average with reading and writing. And basically, she gave me an application for another school in the district that was like a higher performing school, more like niche. And the funny part is that I don't study that anymore, but it was a better school. And she gave me the application, but I had to have somebody in my life, right, that saw that I could go there. And then, of course, that had a domino effect and later affected my education and even my career choices, was just somebody seeing that I could get to that level, that I belonged in a different environment. And that is similar to what coaches do, okay? They hold that space for your next level. They see that vision. Obviously, it's a co-creation and you have to describe what the results are that you want, but you have somebody in your corner to help you get there. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer and kind of demystify the coaching industry a little bit more for people that are curious, because that is what I do and that is what my channels are about right now. But speaking to the bigger topic today of creating a healthy relationship with attention and, learning to stop seeking validation in order to better our relationships and start attracting the right people, is this theme that keeps coming up on my Substack. If you guys aren't subscribed to my Substack or don't know what that is, it is a blogging platform. I'm really active on there right now. It's awesome. It's kind of a mix of like blogging, Twitter, you can write on there. It's just really cool. And lately, when I'm writing, this same thing keeps coming up, so I know that it's probably in the collective and a lot of people are thinking about this. I see it come up in my work with my clients about this performative beauty, right? Performative wellness, performative beauty. And I made a note on Substack the other day about how, and I saw it somewhere and then I just posted it on my Substack. This wasn't my original thought, it's just something that I agree with, that I've noticed that we're heading into an era where people value more how they feel rather than how they look. And I think that speaks, and that's great. Like, I love that. And I feel like that speaks to why kind of Instagram is a little bit dying out on a platform, or why some people complain about not really enjoying that platform that much, because it is a little bit more performative, right? And I want to speak to this new era, this new energy that I'm picking up on, at least in my life and in the observation of my clients and friends around me, that we are getting out of this performative state of wellness, of beauty, of seeking attention and putting that need and desire for attention in the hands of other people. Okay, we're getting out of that and we're learning to prioritize our own lives and how we feel, okay? And the best part about this for all of my creatives, all of my artists, all of my writers, entrepreneurs, is that what this does when you stop seeking that external validation or attention from like a lower self-esteem foundation, what that does for you is it helps you be more creative. And that's the best feeling ever. If you know, you know. And we're going to talk about that more today. So let me know if that makes sense. But feminine energy, boundaries. Feminine energy is a really high ranking SEO keyword. So it's not like my niche or anything, but I am going to use it to promote today's video. I am also a woman, so I do lean more feminine energy, and that's why I put it in today's title. But I will talk about creating boundaries in order to stop seeking validation and start attracting the right people, because your relationships are a mirror of who you are and what you accept. And people, something else I've noticed is that people respond to certainty within you, right? They mirror back what you are giving. So if your relationships don't feel satisfactory, someone said hi. Thanks for joining today's live stream. We're live today on YouTube. I'm really excited about today's topic. We're talking about creating a healthy relationship with attention and learning how to attract the right people by doing so. But I lost my train of thought, but that's what we're talking about today. So here is the core issue. If you keep attracting people who drain you, right? If you feel like you're somebody that suffers from frequent toxic relationships, or you walk away from social interactions like, I don't even know what just happened, like you just feel drained, then it's not necessarily because you're unlucky or like, why me? You're like, I want to get us out of that place. It's because your energy and your identity is conditioned to allow that. And a big part of that wiring comes from seeking validation, whether it's from social media, speaking to women, sometimes it's from men, right? Even sometimes it can be from our family and living up to what it is that they want for our lives and not really honing into what we want for ourselves. And in this day and age, obviously, the main form that we can sometimes seek validation is through social media. And I'm really passionate about this topic of seeking validation because I can say that my self-esteem definitely improved and got so much better when I learned to validate myself, okay, and not necessarily rely on that from other people. And for me personally, it was hard, and it was something that I was unconscious that I was doing when I was in music. You know, obviously people that are musicians, they're doing it from their soul, right? Like they have a song on their heart, they're singing it, they're performing it. But when you start getting into the business side and like you are literally a performer, you can sometimes alter yourself in order to fit a certain mold, a certain personality type, or appeal to more people. Even sometimes you just naturally find that you change. You can notice this when you're on camera and stuff. Like, notice how if there's a camera on you, sometimes people act differently if you're not used to it, especially. So coming out of that need of validation from other people is something that I can definitely speak to as somebody who was a performer literally in music, and then, you know, hand in hand with modeling, you are literally performing. Like, you know, your image is definitely a core part of how you make money, so it's hard not to alter yourself, right? But the key difference in what's going to make you feel more fulfilled and happier is if you learn how to create that validation within yourself, so that way other people's opinions or input don't bring you down, because that can happen. Someone said you were talking about mirroring. Yeah, oh yeah, people respond to absolute certainty. That's what I was saying about mirroring. So the more that you do this internal work and you create like a stronger sense of self and identity, the more people will mirror that back to you. And that translates to everything in your life. So if you think about it in your relationships, if your identity is, or if you are, you know, agreeing with the identity rather, because you can shift your identity at any time. I'm here to tell you that. I know that much, okay? Oh, also these electrolytes are really good. These are another one of my favorites right now. I went through my favorites in the beginning, but I love these electrolytes. They're so good. I've tried a bunch of them and these ones taste the best. So yeah, people respond to absolute certainty. They respond to not who you're saying you are. They respond to who you really think you are deep down, okay? People can read that, and that is like one of the most frightening things, like, but it can also work in your favor if you learn how to channel it, how to harness that truth, okay? So that's what I was saying. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, if you guys are new here, definitely subscribe to my channel. I plan on going live way more often. And today I want to talk about what it really means to have boundaries in your feminine energy, how to stop chasing validation, and how this completely transforms the quality of your relationships. These aren't tablets, these are like powders that you can put in your water. And yeah, it's like a powder. You can mix it into your water bottle. I'm drinking it right now. It's really good. Electrolytes are awesome. They help you feel more energized, especially if you work out. You need to be drinking your electrolytes, okay? So that's what we're talking about today. And I want to kind of debunk this false assumption that, you know, when you hear feminine energy, or you just think of like a feminine archetype of a person, sometimes inherently we think of somebody like that and we're like, you know, we understand the caricature and we can be like, that's weak, you know? And we falsely associate being in your feminine energy with being endlessly given, open, and receptive to every opinion, and allowing that to mold us, right? That's kind of like the toxic side. But I'm here to debunk that and tell you that's not true, okay? Feminine energy is strong, and it is a powerful thing for you to step into when it's rooted in your self-worth, when it's rooted in your individuality and your certainty, not in attention. When you are certain about anything, when you are sure about yourself, you won't need that attention to validate who you are. And the reason it's hard for me to explain why this means so much to me, but one of the other ways that I've seen, one of the more toxic ways I've seen people seek validation and seek attention that instantly is a dead giveaway that they are deeply insecure, is when they need attention in like a negative way, if that makes sense. So like, for example, if you're in conversation with someone and everything's fine, like you're chilling, it's a good time, it's a good vibe, and then out of nowhere they just start putting you down, and especially if it's in front of other people, what's really happening at a deeper level is they are needing validation, they're needing attention, they need to put you down in order to feel better about themselves. And you know, everybody has their insecurities, everybody has things that they have to work through. That's just real life, right? Like that's just the human experience. But the more that we do this kind of internal work on ourselves, the less that we perpetrate that kind of like, you know, negative energy, if that makes sense. So when you crave validation, when you need it, when you need somebody to affirm you, when you need that attention, when you need those likes, when you need that man to tell you that you're pretty or you're not going to believe that you're pretty, when you need that, when you need it, you don't feel like it's there if someone doesn't acknowledge it, you, as a consequence, start lowering your boundaries, and that can wreak havoc on your life. We're going to talk about it. In your body image, in your routines, even in your career, you're going to need those boundaries to get yourself where you want to be. And the more that you're craving and seeking that attention and that validation, the slower of a climb it will be to get there, if that makes sense. So that's also what ends up impacting your relationships, because that's how you start attracting people into your life that aren't actually aligned with who you really are. Like if you ever find yourself in a toxic situation, or you're like, how did I had a moment like that last year where I'm like, how did I even end up here? And it all starts with you, unfortunately and fortunately. Cassandra said, if you don't heal your emotional wounds, they will get infected and it will show up in all aspects of your life. Yes. And, you know, there's a spectrum, right? And I've noticed that the people who have been the meanest to me, the people who have bullied me at different times in my life, you know, are also, and I don't think it's a coincidence, people that later I learned are very, very, very unhappy and insecure. And, you know, if only, you know, and who knows what will happen. I hope that they've grown since then. But when you learn how to navigate your insecurities and not inflict it on other people by doing inner work, by, you know, learning about these topics, you're going to be a positive influence on the people around you rather than needing to bring people down in order to feel better about yourself. It's beyond, someone said constant positive thinking. Yeah, it is positive thinking, but it's beyond that, right? It's inner work. Slight discomfort will steady healthy relationships, leading to self-sabotage. Slight discomfort with steady healthy relationships, leading to self-sabotage. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I'm curious to know more. But yeah, the reason that we need these boundaries, the reason that we need to learn how to validate ourselves is so that we can attract these better relationships in our lives. And, you know, I notice, and I'm not here for like bashing of either gender, of, you know, people hating women, people hating men. I'm not a man basher. I also, you know, I've noticed two things, right? I've noticed women like really being on that man bashing train and just being like, I hate men, all men are evil, all men are this way. But on the flip side, I've also noticed women like literally hate women and have negative experience with women, whether it was through their friendship or through their career, and they're like, all women are not to be trusted. I don't agree with either side. I don't agree with this black and white thinking against gender. I think that everything really does come down to your internal self. Uneasiness from not being in healthy relationships. Yeah, okay, exactly. And what that can do sometimes, and I wrote about this on my Substack, is because we've had these bad experiences, perceived bad experiences, or toxic relating with other people, what that does, unfortunately, is it stops us from creating the kind of relationships that we want. And the first step to creating those relationships that we really, really want, if you're honest with yourself, right? Sometimes we can lie to ourselves and be like, I don't want friends. I don't need friends. I don't want a man. I don't need anybody. I don't need friends. No new friends. We do all of this, but what I really hear when I hear that is fear, right? Fear of connection, fear of being let down by somebody, and all of that is very real, but there are things that you can do to intentionally curate the relationships around you. And guess what? If something does happen, this is a human experience. We're going to be let down sometimes. Sometimes people are going to hurt us. Like, that is how we learn. But when you learn how to navigate boundaries and really embody them and live in them, not just have a conversation with somebody like, I didn't like that you did this, da da da. No, like actually internally being like, I'm not available to be treated that way, period. You won't be in my life, period. You know, sometimes it doesn't have to be that harsh, but when you are internally like that, guess what? That's felt, that's picked up on by other people. Both genders are necessary. Yeah, we have our strengths, we have our differences, and rightfully so. Basically a minor type of trauma or major. Yeah, relationships, right? And hey, that's life, right? There's no way to completely eliminate stress. It's about learning how to manage it, learning how to intentionally curate your life and create your life by design. I'm a huge advocate for that. And that's why, you know, if you follow me on social media, I'm constantly pivoting, I'm constantly reinventing myself and kind of thinking outside of the box. That's another thing that I really believe in. So, okay. One of the first places, just speaking for myself, and you guys let me know your experience, but one of the first places I had to stop seeking validation was through my body image. That's why that was like the first thing I focused on in general. That was one of the first themes of my coaching was body image. I have so many workshops on my channel. If you need resources to help you work through that area, this book, if you want just a self-led version of how to work through body image and how to have a more positive, like self-love vibe of your body, this is a great book. It's called The Only Diet There Is by Sandra Ray. And spoiler alert, the only diet there is a diet from negative thinking. And then she goes into explaining how all of these different forms of negative thinking, whether it's fear or whatever, influence your body image and literally influence your health, how you look, your physical appearance, what you think you are capable of doing in your lifetime. It's awesome. And there's a bunch of like affirmations and stuff. I'll probably do another video on that. Also, following other people's influences. Yeah, exactly. That's why we want to really cultivate who we are as a person. And guess what? Nobody's gonna tell you, like, if you let, how do I say this? If you let other people tell you who you are, honey, they will tell you who you are. And 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be for your benefit. It's going to be for them. And that's why one of my favorite quotes is, if you don't have a plan for your own life, good luck. You're going to fall into the plans of other people. You're going to fall into the perceptions of other people if you don't kind of have a strong sense of self, stand up and be like, no, that's not who I am, this is who I am, right? And the first way in my life that I can just think of off the top of my head was establishing myself as an artist, being like, I'm an artist, like I sing, I can write music, I can perform, I do this, like, you know, but nobody else was gonna give that to me. I had to be the one to validate myself. And even, you know, through all of these phases I've had on social media, like right now I'm wellness consulting, nobody came over and was like, okay, queen, here's your crown, like, you know, this is who you are now, like you have the authority to give this kind of information online. No, like I constantly get all kinds of criticism, all kinds of comments. Nobody came here, validated me, told me I could do it. I mean, I had to do that for myself, and I did through, you know, educating myself, going through programs to be like formally trained in it and stuff. But just in general, that decision that I made to pivot my career, that decision I made to get into this industry, and all of the other past times that I've pivoted industries, you know, I used to be a writer. I am a writer, but I used to write like as a 9-to-5. When I was a musician, you know, getting into fitness, all of these different identity shifts, nobody was like, okay, honey, this is who you are now, you're good to go. No, I had to be like, this is who I am, I'm good to go. I couldn't wait for somebody to tell me that, you know what I mean? And then the more that you do it, obviously consistency pays off. The more results you start to see, then, you know, finally sometimes people come around, or they don't, who cares? But the core is that you validated yourself, period. Okay? So any career shift you want to do, you have to first internally make that decision that this is who you are now, this is what you do now, your skill sets are valuable now. You have to affirm that to yourself. You cannot wait for somebody else to give you that permission to like step into that role, if that makes sense. And that's another common theme that we talk about on my Substack, is basically like to stop seeking validation also translates to stop seeking permission, like waiting for somebody to be like, okay, yes, you can do it now. Okay, you are finally good enough. Okay, you are finally beautiful enough. Whatever that even means, right? All of this is arbitrary. Okay, you are finally rich enough. Like, rich means different things to different people. You can't, there's no one definition. And that was one of the most like demystified areas of my life was around body image and beauty, because it's like we're told what's beautiful, but can we also decide what's beautiful to us and live in that? Like, that's my truth. That's what my channels are about. So one of the first vulnerable share here, okay, one of the first places I had to stop seeking validation was through my body image. I talk about this a lot on my channel if you want to hear more about my personal journey, and that's why I'm so passionate about this work, especially for women who are in the entertainment industry, who are in modeling, who are performers, who are artists. But I think this is just a commonality around women in general. I had to stop letting all of these other things, all of these other sources determine how I felt about my own body, how I felt about my own looks, about my own beauty. I had to stop letting media, even sometimes, I have story times on my channel, even sometimes men I've dated, been in relationships with, who, sometimes pushed onto me that reinforcing of like the only body type that is beautiful is, what's the beauty standard? Model-esque, Eurocentric, like I'm not gonna go there, but you know what I mean? I had to tell myself, I had to train myself intentionally to consider myself beautiful. And then guess what? Other people reflect that back to you, but that is an internal thing. Because guess what? If you're walking around insecure, people are going to prey on that, unfortunately, and they're going to use it to their advantage sometimes, because they see that that's something that you're not certain about in yourself, and they're just mirroring that back to you. Let me know if that makes sense. But that's just off the top of my head, one of the areas of my life that I had to train myself to stop seeking validation from. And the interesting thing is that you would think that people who are on camera all the time, like models, even in the fitness industry, I saw this, like people that are literally in amazing shape, are literally beautiful, sometimes can also be the most insecure. Why? Because they need that validation from the world to tell them that they are good enough, right? They need that. They are performing it. They're not doing it for themselves. And all it takes is a mentality shift and like a different way of viewing the world to change that. But this is a reality for a lot of people. And I deeply empathize with that because, that was me at one point too. And, I had to wash my brain out from thinking that there is only one way that I'm supposed to look like. If I don't look that way, then I am not beautiful. I had to stop doing that. And I had to create, again, translating to fitness and wellness, I had to create a fitness and wellness routine that suits me, that suits my body, my lifestyle, not what's trending, not what Instagram says is trending, not what this girl is doing over there, my own life, what I want for my own life. I had to create that for myself, if that makes sense. And that is how validating yourself plays out in real life, is recognizing what needs to change, what you don't like, and taking action on that. Okay, so like I said, books like this, again, I can't recommend it enough. The Only Diet There Is by Sandra Ray. There's another book that really helped me in reframing how I thought about health, integration, and lifestyle, which, don't let the title fool you. I know it sounds super like corny, but it goes beyond the title. Okay, it talks about just lifestyle in general. It's called French Women Don't Get Fat. It's a great book, but it basically talks about how wellness, health are things that are integrated into your lifestyle. They're not a performance. And that is what I'm now really honing in and drilling into all of my clients' mind, and now on my YouTube channel, how to live in a way that really works for you and is not fueled by that need for validation from other people. All right, let me know if you're following. I had to stop caring about how things looked, right? Letting go of perception, another common theme of my Substack. I had to stop caring if my routines seemed boring or weird to other people. Like, for example, going to bed early. Like, I'm a nerd, I do that. I do it for a reason. I do it because it helps me feel my best, and I have like my own wellness routines. But I had to decide that that was something that worked for me, when other people would rather, they say this is the time that you're supposed to be going out, staying up late, doing this, doing that. But like, I personally feel my best when I do certain things, and I make sure that my lifestyle agrees with it, and I have to get out of sometimes looking at what everybody else is doing, if that makes sense. And it's not to say that there's a one size fits all either, because sometimes certain things work better for other people. Everybody has different personality types, you know what I mean? So, but these are what things that I do for my life. These are my boundaries that allow me to feel at my best. All right, so when you embrace your individuality, the quirks, the routines that are true to you, and you stop chasing validation, that's when you develop that true sense of what they call magnetism. I have a video on this on my channel too, how to develop personal magnetism. And what I'll say about that, hold on, this light is making me hot, but what I'll say about personal magnetism is that one of the best qualities that I see in people around me, one of the things that I think has really benefited my relationships that I would consider personal magnetism is like listening more than you talk. Like being present and actually listening to the people that are talking around you, and like being more focused on other people than you are on yourself. That is what creates healthy relationships. That is what draws people to you. That's what magnetism is being less self-involved, less in your own inner world, and actually like focusing on other people. And that's why I love business so much, because you truly are being of service to other people. But the core thing that I've learned, I also have another video on my channel, personal magnetism. You can look it up on the YouTube bar, Dream Styling Health and Life, personal magnetism. I talk more about it on there, but lately what I see is that when you're focused on other people, truly listening to what they're saying, truly taking it in and like responding to that rather than making it all about you, this is literally one of the most attractive qualities. And you know, it creates a foundation for more depth in your relationships. Like if you're ready to go beyond surface level in some of your relationships, consider personal magnetism and being more focused on the other person and really being present in what they're saying. Does that make sense? Someone said, "You're so pretty." Thank you. Talking too fast. Sometimes I talk fast. I'm sorry. I'll try to slow down. It's because I have so much to say and, you know, I'm trying to get it all out, but I'll be more mindful of that. Thanks. Okay, but let me know if you understand what I mean when I talk about personal magnetism. And all of the books that are very trendy are sometimes around how to change your personality and change the way that you are in order to be more attractive or, you know, gain influence, whatever the case may be. But literally the people that I've seen that are the most influential and actually like really powerful are people that are in service to other people, because they are prioritizing other people over them in a way that's not degrading, but, you know, adding to their community, adding to the environment, not taking. And of course, people want to be around people that are giving in that way, in a healthy way, right? So, yeah, when you embrace your individuality, your quirks, your routines that are true to you, and you stop chasing validation, that's when you truly become magnetic, because people don't respond to perfection, they respond to certainty. And the thing about chasing perfection, I have also a video on perfectionism, but something I'm noticing is that sometimes I circle back to these topics time and time again from like a different state of mind, and I can add to it. So I do have a video on perfectionism on my channel, but I've learned even more about that topic. And when you are chasing perfection, basically you're chasing something that doesn't exist. And when you're needing validation from other people, sometimes this can be an unconscious pattern and unconscious behavior that you're not even aware of until somebody points it out to you. That's why I feel like these conversations are so useful and so helpful, because it will at least get you to start thinking. And it says, just be yourself, it works every time. Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that a little bit earlier on today's live, but the thing I want to say about chasing certainty and chasing perfectionism is, like, I've noticed, and this is just toxic, but it is something that happens, where if you're putting that need for attention and validation in somebody else's hands, right, then what's going to happen is that once you get to that goalposts and you do that thing, it's just gonna move, and then you have to chase the next thing, and there's no real satisfaction or like fulfillment in that, if that makes sense. So to make it sound a little bit less intellectual and heady, it's kind of like you know, there's a spectrum. On the toxic side of the spectrum, if you think that there's one thing that you have to do to be beautiful, like for example, one thing sometimes people chase is like a body type, right? Like being whatever their perceived idea of what an ideal beautiful body type is. Okay, boom. Then you get that, right? Because you think that it's going to give you some kind of social status or whatever, respect, whatever it is that you were chasing that you thought that thing would give you. Once you get it, I promise you, in this endless, insatiable pursuit to be perfect, what happens is that once you get it, what happens? The next thing comes up. Now I need to chase that thing, then I'll be beautiful. Then you get that thing. Okay, now I need to chase the next thing, then I'll finally be beautiful. It's just a loop, right? And how to get out of that loop is finally, you know, living in certainty and validating yourself from the inside. Liposuction? What do you mean? What about liposuction? Okay, so here are some off the top of my head, very easy self-validation rituals. First of all, this one topic needs to be its own video. I can't make enough videos about this topic. You know, emotional intelligence, emotional maturity is going to be a huge tool in learning how to self-validate yourself, because what it does is it puts you back in the driver's seat. It puts you back in control of your emotions, most importantly, and doesn't have other people pulling your emotions like a freaking puppet to get whatever results they want out of you when you learn how to regulate yourself and develop that emotional maturity, emotional intelligence. And there's many ways to go about that, but the most impactful way that I did when I first started was through journaling. I have a beginner-friendly journal somewhere on my website that you can download. I also have this process outlined in my 30 Days of Empress Energy program, but it was just a simple journaling practice. This book kind of goes into it a little bit in a way, but all it is basically rewiring. Like, what about plastic surgery? Are you asking me if I have any? I don't. I don't have plastic surgery. And I don't have a strong opinion about it. If people want to do it, then that's their choice. But one of the biggest tools that I've used to self-validate is learning how to process my emotions and not making that the responsibility of other people, which now that I've learned how to do it and I'm embodied in it because I've been doing it for years, I can see when it's happening around me, where someone is basically hot potatoing their emotions onto you, hoping that you can make sense of it, process it, and then give it back to them, and like, you know, do that kind of emotional labor for them. But that is something that you truly need to do within yourself, if anything, just to have like control over your thoughts, over your mind. You don't want that to be on somebody else, because they'll do whatever they want with it. Like, you know, you have, honestly, at the end of the day, you have your own best interest at heart. So it's basically a process that you do. If you get it, you're always going to have to be chasing the dragon. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. A good book about that is Psycho-Cybernetics. He basically talks about, he was a plastic surgeon, and he basically talks about like how all of these people would go in for plastic surgery. They would get the augmentation or whatever, and after there was just another problem. Like, they didn't really process that problem was resolved, because the problem is a lot deeper. The problem is in how you see yourself, right? It's in your sense of security. So yeah, definitely. Right, we want to get out of that cycle, but that's so true. Thanks for saying that. Psychological warfare. Yes, it is psychological warfare. Thank you for saying that. Absolutely. That is why I come on here and I make these videos, because in a way, these processes, these tools are how you can psychologically defend yourself, and you're gonna need that. Okay, life is long. You're gonna need to know how to do that. Okay, no matter what, you never know what life is gonna throw at you. But yeah, journaling was one of the ways that I learned how to process my emotions, and basically I give the step-by-step in my 30 Days of Empress Energy program and through my private coaching. But what this does is it helps you obviously reframe any kind of negative distortion that you're experiencing. So I'll give you a quick rundown of how the journaling worked. But like, for example, Someone comment, like, you'll know you need to do this process if you get triggered. How do you know if you're triggered? You're having a strong emotional negative reaction to something, you're having a strong physical reaction to something, you're having negative thoughts over a certain thing. That's how you know that you're triggered. One of the ways that we get triggered sometimes is by other people's comments, right? So for example, somebody comments on your body, says you're fat, right? It makes you feel bad, you're thinking about it for days on end. Okay, you're triggered. What do you do next? In your journal, easy, simple, foolproof way to process your feelings and get back in control of yourself is the first question you ask yourself: what is the distortion? I'm going to subscribe to your channel. Thank you. I hope so. What is the first question you ask yourself in your journal? What is the distortion that my mind is playing out right now? Okay, in the scenario where someone commented on your weight, the distortion my mind is playing out right now is that I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful. My body is not okay the way that it is. All you have to do after that, ask yourself, is this the absolute truth? Is it the absolute truth that I am not beautiful? Is it the absolute truth that nobody will accept me if I don't look a certain way? No, right? Next step, I'm trying to recall it off the top of my mind, but I laid it out in my programs. The next step is basically you have to rewrite that distortion into something that is going to help you and affirm you. So to rewrite that distortion of I'm not good enough, my body isn't beautiful, I'm not beautiful, nobody will ever accept me, how will I ever, like it spirals from there. You basically write the opposite to rewrite that distortion. So the real truth, right? The new truth, the belief that you are intentionally wanting to believe now that's going to serve you is I am beautiful. There is somebody out there for every body type. It won't affect if I attract a partner or not, or whatever the negative thought was. You just write the opposite. That's your new truth. And then you write affirmations about it, right? In this case, it would be I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am good enough, I am in control of how I view myself, not other people. And then that's your new belief. And anytime that triggering thought comes up, you go back to your new embodied truth. And it helps if on top of that, you can visualize and describe what that new truth would look like. So what would a day in the person's life who is naturally confident, who loves their body, who considers themselves beautiful, what is that person doing? How would they act? What would they believe? You put yourself into that person's mind, you visualize it, you make your mind movie. They say it helps if you have the same scenario play out. So just, doing this in real time with you guys, how would that look, right? If this person now believes that they're beautiful, they believe their body's good enough. Okay, well, I would wear whatever I want and I wouldn't feel insecure. I wouldn't spend 20 minutes in the mirror trying to decide if I look beautiful or not. I would just go out of the door. Like, that is something that they can visualize, that's practical, not too otherworldly, right? Something they can actually get behind. And now anytime that triggering thought comes up about whatever, their body image, they would step into that new embodied truth, that new embodied visualization. And that's how you slowly get control over your emotions, over your mind, over your triggers, and learn to process things in real time. Okay, I could do a whole video on that. That was kind of like the speed dating version, but that is literally one of the most powerful tools I ever had in learning how to process my emotions and things that triggered me. And the more that you get into that state of mind of like, I'm in control of myself, I am, I have my personal power activated, the less other people can play around with your feelings, with your emotions, your mind, your body, your soul, like you are in control. Okay, so self-validation rituals. I just walked you through one of my favorite journaling practices that helped me, but other things you can do: writing down your wins, self-acknowledgement every day. This is something I do with my clients. Little acknowledgements about small things, small wins that are going on a daily basis. Like, that helps you get out of the habit of needing outside approval, because what you're doing is you're training yourself to acknowledge yourself. Like, you're not waiting on somebody else to tell you. You can acknowledge, okay, maybe I'm not exactly where I want to be, but this thing is going well, but I have this thing going for me, but it's not the absolute truth that I will be here forever. Like, you need to do that internal work of reframing and putting yourself in that seat of like, I got this, I'm in control. Self-validation rituals, you know, that those are two of my favorites. And practice, this is going to take time, but learning how to practice certainty. So part of what goes hand in hand with boundaries and with you know, developing that habit of learning to validate yourself is practicing being certain. So if you are naturally indecisive, if that's something you struggle with, that it's hard for you to come to a final decision, like, that can definitely bleed over into needing validation from other people, because what you're going to do is you're going to outsource that, and you're going to need other people to be certain for you. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So the more that you can practice being certain, being absolutely clear on what it is you want, the more that you can get into the habit of making decisions like this and being set on it, not going back and forth after, the more confident you're going to be, because you're the one ultimately leading yourself, right? You're self-led at that point. People mirror, and we talked about this earlier, but people mirror the certainty that you have about yourself. If you know, for example, in artistry, if you know your music, your art, your work is good, then nobody else's critique matters. But the takeaway is that people mirror that certainty or uncertainty, okay? So it helps to practice being certain about things, especially when it comes to self-perception and who you think you are. Do you know how to sing? Yes, I do know how to sing. I used to do music. All right, so boundaries in lifestyle, building routines that energize you even if others don't get it, right? That's part of what it takes to curate your life intentionally. And another thing that I just want to speak to in terms of entrepreneurship and learning how to validate yourself in that way, because there is a hell of a lot of deep identity work that you need to do in business. Okay, I'm not even gonna, I probably will write about that on my blog. Subscribe to my blog, by the way, soon. But the biggest shift, right, in learning to validate yourself in career is learning to see yourself as capable of having success in that area. Okay, does that make sense? You have to first see yourself as capable. Okay, don't wait for validation from the industry, from other people's feedback around you, because first of all, in entrepreneurship, but even in career, boldness is a necessity. Boldness is a necessity. Boldness is what makes people be like, who do you think you are? You know, I'm like, people get, and it bothers people, trust me, okay? Like, that's what happens though. Once you're bold, once you start making, you know, actual embodied, inspired action, you're practicing being bold. And being bold is spiritual, because you've decided that you are this person now, that you're going to do those things, right? So I hope that this video kind of let you into the kind of work that I do. This is exactly the kind of work that we do. It's deeper and it's beyond just, you know, a health plan, a health and fitness routine, a meal plan. It's about rewiring how you relate to yourself, your body, your routines, your relationships, so that you stop chasing validation and finally learn how to live in certainty through the 90-day process, okay? Unlike generic accountability or fitness programs, this is a high-touch premium experience. It integrates your body transformation with emotional wellness and lifestyle design. All of these things are hard for me to put into words, but I try my best. It's for women ready to live with confidence and stop repeating cycles. So if this video spoke to you, definitely check out my 90-day coaching offer. I also have a 4-week beginner-friendly program for people who want to get started in their health and fitness but have no idea where. They want to make those changes, but they don't want to feel overwhelmed. I have a beginner-friendly program as well, but my core offer is my 90-day body and life transformation program. Okay, so if you guys have anything that you want to add to today's video, let me know in the comments. That's all that I had for you guys today. But the takeaway is that if you're ready to create your own lane, your own lifestyle, and stop relying on attention to feel worthy, my work might be for you. So definitely inquire about a consultation. I have my website always linked below underneath all of my videos, and step by step, you can really create that transformation that you want in your life. But as you see, there's a lot of moving parts. It is not just a one step solution, especially on videos like this that are like broad. Okay, so if there's not anything else, I'm gonna get off this live stream. Definitely tell me if you enjoyed this video, if you're watching it in the replay. Check out all of my offers, check out my blog. That's my most active platform right now. And I highly encourage anybody who's not on Substack to get on Substack because it's so much fun. It reminds me kind of like Tumblr and Twitter combined, but like you can also write, and it's really cool. So definitely make one. And then once you make one, make sure you're subscribed to my blog. Okay, and let me know if you like when I announce when I'm going on live instead of doing it randomly. I'm sure that probably works better. So, yep, I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know what topics you want to see. Bye, guys. Anything else? Thanks for joining.